Best Book Bits podcast brings you Adrian Webster, former riot policeman, milkman, salesman, now popular motivational speaker and best-selling author. Adrian, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, Michael, what a pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Thank you.
No worries at all. And I just, for my audience who sort of don't know who you are, obviously I know you've done a lot throughout your career. Let's rewind back to the earlier years. Who is the 18-year-old Adrian? What is he doing? What is he dreaming of? And how did your story unfold from there on in?
Oh, crikey. 18-year-old Adrian Webster was, at 18, was planning on joining the army, trying to get a commission in the army. And then what happened? The local police officer of the little town I lived in said, "Oh, you don't want to go in the army. You'll spend all your life sort of, training for things and square bashing and all that. You think about the police. Every day is a different day. It's exciting, and it appealed to me. And I joined the police, and I absolutely loved the first couple of years. And then I started realizing perhaps it wasn't for me. I wanted to do other stuff. I always sort of had this sort of desire to sort of do something different. And I'll be honest with you, Michael, I never really knew what it was. And so anyway, I sort of tried a few things, and cutting a long story short, I blagged my way into the IT industry as a sales guy. I was a pretty good sales guy. And overnight, the company I was working at, the guys who owned it, for some reason I never quite understand to this day, decided to give me a team of 150 young salespeople to try and manage and look after. And that's really where all the motivational side of things for me began, where I found something that I loved, and something that, one of the very few things in life that I realized I was quite good at it. And other people seemed to enjoy it. And I started to realize I was making a bit of a difference to people's lives. It all sounds a bit cliche and corny, but that's exactly it. But I was actually rubbish at it, at managing people when I first got into it. I thought it'd be a piece of cake. But wow, it was so challenging and so difficult. But I became obsessed with why, out of, say, a team of 100 people, why there's 2 or 3 people that are just truly extraordinary. And what I started to do, I started to beg interviews, the rich, the famous, the billionaires, the entrepreneurs, the most successful people on this planet, to find out what made them tick. And then people finding out about the research I was doing started to contact me with people who weren't rich or famous, but were incredibly successful in their own right. There was a nursing sister in a hospital in Bristol here in the UK. There was a man who collects rubbish off the streets of Manchester. Incredibly successful people in their own right. And from that, what I started to do was create this, it sounds like I'm going mad, this motivational world called Polar Bear Pirates, to try and inspire, to retain and engage my people. I hope that makes some sense to you.
Yeah, you're the modern day version of the UK's Napoleon Hill.
I'll tell you, that was a massive compliment. Thank you.
Now, I want to fill in some gaps. You ran a dairy business in the milk industry. Is that correct? Where did that fit in?
Oh, when I left the police, I went off to college for a while. I was down at college, and my girlfriend's father had a farm in Somerset, and a thing called milk quotas was coming in. And he said, I'd like, if I could, to sort of build my own dairy company up, to start supplying doorstep customers with farm fresh milk and also local shops. I need someone to do it. I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I started doing that, had a little tiny mini pickup truck. I used to sort of go out delivering milk. And what I'd do, I'd go out every evening and knocking on literally hundreds of doors, trying to persuade people, families to swap from their milkman they'd had for years to us. And that's how I sort of got into the sales side of things. And that's how I started creating some of the characters, the original characters from the Polar Bear Pirates book. So I'd knock on a door, some guy'd come to the door, and he'd just look at me and say, no, we're not interested. He literally slammed the door in my face. And at first I used to get quite upset about it. I used to go and sit in the car and sort of sulk about it. But then when I started creating these characters, I sort of finding out how many I could collect. So someone like that, I'd sort of knock on the door, they'd slam the door in my face, And I just look at the door and just think, bloater, what a bloater. And I go, see if I can find another bloater. I go knock on the door next door. And then I get some real miserable person and I think, oh, that's an egg ferret. And then when I started taking out friends of mine, my little teams of sort of door knockers, cold callers to come and join me, I introduced them to this little game. So I made it fun. I made sales like a game. And the surprising thing was, we started to knock on an awful lot more doors because of it. And hey, we got lucky, because we'd knock on the door and someone would say, I can't believe you just knocked on the door. We just moved here. We're just looking for a milkman. And then years later, when I was in the IT industry, I basically, with the world of Polar Bear Pirates, created that same sort of game mentality with all my sales teams, especially the people who are doing cold calling there. So what I was trying to do is say to people, look, rejection is an accolade. When people are criticizing you or rejecting you, for me, it's just proof that you're doing something with your life. I'll just say this, Michael. When people know you're a motivational speaker, they sort of associate you with sort of, I don't know, in their head, really motivational things. And motivation for me, I get people climbing mountains, sailing oceans, trekking to the North and South Pole. And it is incredibly inspiring, don't get me wrong. But the bit that excites me and interests me about motivation is what motivates what I call everyday people like me, to get out of bed, to climb their own mountains and make a difference in the workplace. What motivates someone in sales, what motivates someone driving a forklift truck, someone working in a warehouse, someone in finance, someone in HR, whatever it is. What motivates real people to push themselves? And that's what I'm all about. That's what the world of Polar Bear Pirates is about. It's about people, everyday people like myself, realizing that they can make a difference.
Yeah, it's an inspiring story, and I've had a look at the book myself, and it's been compared to Who Moved My Cheese. Is that correct?
It's the initial Polar Bear Pirate. When it first came out, people were sort of putting Who Moved My Cheese alongside it. It's a completely different story. I've never actually read Who Moved My Cheese, but it's a small sort of thin book. There's not that many pages, and it's just sort of it's put across, I suppose, in a fun way. That sort of what I tried to do was cut through what I call motivational psychobabble. I try to cut through all that nonsense, all the theory of motivation. And make motivation appealing to everyday people, so that they had some sort of framework for motivating themselves.
Yeah. Now, talk to me about you had a speech with one of your clients came in, happened to be in the office, and he was so impressed that he asked you to deliver a speech to his staff, and the rest is history. Is that how your speaking career unfolded? Expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, what happened, Michael? Part of my role of running these big teams of people, and they kept bolting more people onto me, and part of my role was, because motivation is, as you know, it's like something with a slow puncture. It's like a football or a tire. It's like a tiny little puncture. You've got to keep it, pumped up all the time. And part of my role was to sort of get up in front of my people and probably 3 times a week and gather the whole company around and get everyone fired up all the time. And what happened was, to start with, I still to this day get really nervous when I speak. I used to be absolutely sort of really nervous of standing in front of people. But I sort of found out that if I started introducing this Polar Bear Pirate world, and if I made the talks fun and a bit different and a bit wacky, people, because I had a lot of young people working for me, people sort of seemed to find it really engaging. And what happened was, people started bringing other people along to turn up at these talks. And then one night, I'm doing a talk, and when I'd finished speaking, one of my team members came up to me and said, "Adrian, we had one of our biggest customers, one of our biggest clients at the back of the room listening to that. He wants to have a chat with you." And first, I was actually horrified. I was mortified, because we hadn't just been talking about motivation. We've been talking about figures and profit margins and all this stuff. Oh God. And anyway, I went to the back of the room, and he just looked at me and he said, if I got pizzas in and Coca-Cola and kept all my people in my company behind for an hour after work, would you come and just tell them what you just told your people? And I said, yeah, sure. So I did that. And then his friend in London rang up the week after and said, could you come and chat to my people? I said, yeah. So I was sort of saying, yeah, and running around all over the place for sort of, a slice of pizza. And I was doing that for 7 years, Michael, in my spare time. So I was able to sort of, create and sort of, I suppose, craft my sort of speaking and build on this motivational world of everyday people making a difference. And it just seemed to be popular. And then what happened, I was doing a talk one night and there was an agent in the room and they said to me, oh my God, you should be on the speaker circuit. And I'll be honest, I didn't even really know that existed. And oh wow, you should have got it. So I started doing that, and it just took off. And there you are. And I just realized, I found something that I absolutely love, something I'm so passionate about. I can honestly say I wouldn't want to be doing anything else than motivational speaking. It's just the best thing, see people laughing and then seeing that their eyes light up and then thinking maybe you've made a difference to one person in the audience. It's just a great feeling. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to get a platform to be able to not only speak your passion, but to educate, inspire, and connect with other people as well. So, yeah, congratulations on how that unfolded in your younger years, shall I say. Now, talk to me. Who's Jack Lewis?
Oh, Jack is my co-author with the Sort Your Brain Out books. So Jack and I met, I can't remember what year it was. 2010, I think. I might be wrong there. We were both speaking at a conference in Tenerife, and Jack's a brilliant neuroscientist, Dr. Jack Lewis, and he was talking all about the brain, and he was up there, and he was neuroscience. And then he said one fascinating thing. I always remember he came out with the words, you can change your brain. And that just lit up inside me. I thought, wow. And the two of us got together afterwards, had a coffee. And I said, can you really change your brain? He said, yeah, if you force it every day over long periods of time, if you set your goals just right, you can. Your brain is the only computer in the known universe that can build its own new connections. There's no other computer as yet can do that. So we got together and, he said, look, with your sort of storytelling and the way that, you deliver stuff and make it fun and exciting, maybe we could create a user manual for the brain. And hence Sort Your Brain Out was born. And again, it's cutting through all that, in this case, all that sort of complex neuroscience and making it fun and relevant. And I say fun, making it really, really practical and down to earth, because everybody, it's funny, but the thing that does all the thinking, no one ever gives it any thought, do they? It's people go down the gym, they go down there to tone up and all whatever, they go down there for aerobically to get better. They never sort of give much thought about the brain. So we came up with Sort Your Brain Out, and if I say so myself, I think it's a pretty good book. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to expand on that a little bit. One of my close friends, Freya, I had her on the podcast recently, and she's a brain stimulation expert. So we had a whole podcast dedicated to the brain. So well versed on the brain. I want to jump into some of the things that I got from that book myself, and I'm sure you can expand on that too. But some of the most basic tips. So I'll just go through them. A couple of the most basic tips that you can increase your brain performance. Drink enough water.
Yeah.
At least 20 minutes of physical activity every day. But I'll hand it back to the author and you can tell me more about some basic tips and how we can sort out the brain.
Well, if Jack was here, Jack would be really banging on about this. And it's the one thing I learned from writing it, is get some sleep. The only, it used to be back in the 1990s, I'm that old, people used to say, sleep's for wimps, I get by on 3 hours a night, whatever it is, and as Jack says, it will sort of catch up with you at some stage in your life, if that's how you're living life. But when you're sleeping, without being too boring now, it's the only time your brain can build those new connections is while you're asleep. It's the only time it can rinse out neurotoxins. It needs to shrink the cells. And it's the only time it can do much needed repair work. Otherwise, you're expecting someone. It's like asking someone to sort of repair a busy street during rush hour. It can only do repair work while you're asleep. So getting some sleep is the number one thing. But probably the second most important thing is as soon as you wake up, a glass of water. Brains are 73% water, just 2% dehydration will affect memory, attention, and other cognitive skills. You can see I've rehearsed those lines, can't you? Doing so many talks with Jack. Attention, focus, and other cognitive skills. Pass it on if you're listening to this to youngsters when they got exams. It's the difference between a B and an A grade. First thing in the morning now. And the reason is your brain every morning is dehydrated. Forget if you've been drinking alcohol the night before, your brain is dehydrated. In fact, your lungs have been working overnight, which is always a positive sign, means you've been blowing off moisture. So 2 biggest favors, get some sleep and drink some water.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and when did that book come out?
Oh, crikey, when did it come out? You've lost me there. We just had the new edition come out. This is the new sort of revamped version with loads of good new stuff in it. And this
2014 is when the first one came out. I know that.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this has just come out. This year just gone. 2021 is the new edition of it, and it's got some really new use. It really, I'm not just saying it. It really is a very, very useful book, and I just learned so much from writing it with Jack. It really has made me a bit of a neuro nut.
Here's the thing: everyone's got a brain, everyone uses a brain, but no one studies it, and it's a bit of a shame. I'm sure there's things in there that if we were, the book's all about boosting your performance and managing your stress and achieving more. If we had our brain right, our body right, I'm sure that we're not only going to think better, sleep better, but we're going to do better as well. And the opposite's true too. If you don't have your brain right, you're not going to feel well, you're not going to do well, and you're not going to be well. That's the main crux of that. Now, Absolutely. What was the next book that came out after that? Was that another polar bear book, or are we going to jump into TNT?
I had the initial Polar Bear Pirate book came out, which was Polar Bear Pirates. It actually came out in a real all sort of funky, all singing, all dancing, fully colour mode. That was the original Fat City Polar Bear Pirate book with a couple of new characters. We've got Betty Backroom, who's a new character. Betty Backroom's a sort of unsung treasure of the team. The person in the background, Betty's a person who manages their boss. That was a new character in there. Then the next book to come out was Polar Bear Pirates and their quest to engage the sleepwalkers. Now, sleepwalkers are not a negative person. They're people who do they're people who do a really good job, but they're capable of so much more. They're shining at 60 watts. I need them shining at 100 watts. So that came out, and then the Sort Your Brain Out books, then the Tiny Noticeable Things book came out.
Yep. Let's expand a little bit on that 60 watts to 100. I find myself in certain areas of my life where I know I'm sort of sleepwalking at 60%, knowing that I can be 100%. And I know a lot of people, obviously, in the workforce and go through their job 60% and they know their potential is 100. How do we set ourselves up to get 100? And it's not just by working harder, but how can a company or a leadership management team get their employees to, stretch and get to that 100 watt, as you call it?
Well, first of all, it's down to great leadership in a team. It's about managers stepping into the shoes of leaders, and I meet so many good managers out there. But what I really need in my organisation, I need great leaders. great leaders who can inspire people, engage people, they're people who are prepared to take ownership, they're prepared to dare to do things differently, and they're prepared to make mistakes. A lot of people, are just petrified of making mistakes, and they spend all their life worried about making a mistake, and they can't concentrate on their performance as much because they're too worried about making a mistake. So it's about great leadership, and it's about creating that culture, that environment around you where everybody wants to pull together for everybody else around them in their team. People want to make that difference and share in doing it and keeping each other shining at 100 watts. And then it's down to the individual themselves to self-lead themselves and doing that by setting themselves goals. And I would say probably the most important thing is people in a team having a sense of progress. There's one thing that we all have in common. We're all different. Apparently there's 4 fundamentally completely different personalities out there, all thinking and working differently. And there's in one workplace, there could be up to 5 different generations of people working there, all thinking and working differently. But what we all have in common is the need to have a sense of progress. At the heart of having a sense of progress is great goal setting. Great goal setting that keeps us on what I call the front doorstep of our comfort zone. If you spend the rest of what I call your 44.4 seconds, your life inside your comfort zone, you won't build one new connection. You'll have the same brain, the same connections, you'll think the same stuff, you'll behave the same way for the rest of your life. If you stray too far outside your comfort zone, your brain goes into confusion. So I want everybody in my team around me, including myself, to be what I call just outside, literally half a step outside my comfort zone that time, on the front doorstep. And I call it bubble wrapping. I don't know if, Michael, have you ever walked in bubble wrap in bare feet? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
It's a great feeling, isn't it? It's a bizarre feeling, but it's like sort of popping all these lots and lots and lots of little goals that keep our brains fresh, that keep us excited, that keep us moving on, and all of us together, just doing all these little tiny little things, these little goals, popping all these little goals that make us feel good. And that, for me, is how we keep people at 100 watts. Is great leadership, great support, and all of us having our own little goals. Because a lot of people, they focus on the big goal. One day I want to be this, that's great, go for it. But, where's your path? Where's your bubble wrap path? Where's all your bubbles you're going to pop together,
Yeah, absolutely. I had the pleasure of interviewing David Allen from the book Getting Things Done, and he's an expert in management consultant. And he breaks it down. When you break down the fundamentals 5 steps, it all comes down to what is the small daily actions you can take with those small wins and milestones as well. Great. I think the biggest issue in the workforce, and obviously yourself understanding and managing teams as well, you've got employees, managers, and owners. Sometimes if the owners aren't in the business, or if it's a major global company where it's sort of faceless and we don't know who the owners are, managers get into a position where they're comfortable in terms of their salary and position, and they won't do anything to disrupt the status quo. How do employees change culture from the ground up if managers are reluctant to change the culture? Do they have to find another workplace, or is there things they can do to change that culture?
Well, it's a bit like trying to change the weather in some cases, isn't it? I get asked this quite often. And I say to people, I used to work in one particular company, and people were always moaning about our boss all the time. And I remember at a meeting once turning around and saying, listen, guys, it's like sat here moaning about the weather. I think the reality is that person isn't going to change. They own the company. They're 100% owner of the company. And I'm just being honest, we're not going to change it. But, we're going to crack on, and we're going to be the best we can possibly be. And we're going to deliver the best experiences to our customers that we can ever do. And we're going to make this an outstanding, a great place to work where people want to get out of bed. And when people get headhunted by other companies, competitors, they turn around and say, you must be joking. I wouldn't work anywhere else. And not to focus on it. Don't sort of focus. It's like the neg ferret characters I talk about in my books. Neg ferrets, just quickly, They're the ones who go around moaning all the time. You know, the people light up the room when they walk out. You know, I don't like this. Moan, neg ferrets. And, you know, people are always concentrating on neg ferret characters. You know, ignore them. And if you've got a boss like that, just keep going with what you're doing as a team collectively. You know, ride them out with your own passion and enthusiasm. You know, and at the end of the day, if it gets to the point where you just can't bear it anymore, you get off the bus and go and hop on and up, go and put your energy and focus into someone else who appreciates it. You know, I sort of, you know, but at the end, but the starting point is to focus on yourself, focus on the people around you, and do the very best you can under the circumstances. But if you're starting to go home and you're stressed about it and it's causing you anxiety, there'll be other organizations out there who really do appreciate someone with your passion and talents. You know, go and join them, you know?
Yeah, thanks for expanding on that. And it totally makes sense. Now, talk to me, where did the new book come from? Tiny Noticeable Things, The Secret Weapon to Making a Difference in Business. Why did you write that book and what is it all about?
Okay, so the world of polar bear pirates is a whole sort of world of motivation. And a big part of that world is what I call TNTs. They're tiny, noticeable things. They're little explosive things that we do that we don't need to do, that can make a huge difference to people. So they're tiny, noticeable things. They create the biggest, longest lasting pictures in people's minds. They're the things people see. They show you care. They make and break relationships. They're the difference between a 4 and a 5-star experience, the difference between a manager and a leader. They're the things that people might go home and moan to their partners about, but don't mention at work. So they're all the little tiny things. And they came about in the world of polar bear pirates because we were competing against big boys, people with loads of money and big budgets, and we just couldn't compete with them. So our secret weapon for differentiating ourselves from the competitors was tiny, noticeable things. All the little things we could do that cost absolutely next to nothing, that could have a seismic impact with people. So as a leader, I was always looking for little, what I call TNT, tiny noticeable things I could do for my people in my team around me to make them feel good. And if I could make them feel a couple of inches taller, we could grow the business. And then collectively as a team, we're looking for TNT, things we could do for each other. And then as a team, we were always putting our head into the worlds of our customers, always looking for opportunities to exceed their expectations with little things that cost nothing, that the big boys just basically overlooked. And they became known as our secret weapon. They're our secret weapon. That's why we win so much business, is we make customers feel fantastic about themselves, and we deliver an experience that is just absolutely standout.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'd love for you to sort of grab the book and tell some stories, but some of the things that I got from it, so like remembering someone's first name, recalling how they preferred to take their coffee, was really, really good. Sending someone a handwritten thank you note. They're all the little sort of cost nothing engages that create the biggest long lasting impressions. They show you care, they blow people away, and they make a very big difference. So some of the things I got from it. But tell me some of the stories in the book, or some of the most recent TNT experiences that you've got.
Well, just one quick thing. When I'm speaking at conferences, in coffee breaks, delegates are always sort of coming up, and they're either telling me they love working where they're working, or they're whispering in my ear, they're thinking of leaving. It's never, Michael, ever to do with big stuff. It's always to do with the little TNT things that make such a difference. So, and going back to one thing you mentioned, anybody watching this now, handwritten note. The one thing that comes up all the time in the book is handwritten notes. The number of people in here are blown away by a handwritten note. A member of your team, they've been working so hard, we're all going through challenging times at the moment. They get home that night, they're just undoing their bag, whatever, and a little Post-it note falls out and it's just got a couple of words on it. Michael, I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying working with you. I'm really excited about the future. Just a few words like that. It's great working with you, Michael. I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying it. These are the things that just make people feel a couple of inches taller, that excite people. But the book it's packed with, oh, wow, I think there's over 100 stories in here. They're all sort of completely different. Each one of them, though, some of them seem, very simple. Some of them are short, some of them are long, but they're all experiences that have made a difference to somebody else. So, picking a couple out quickly here, we've got one called Old Friend. I'm not going to read the whole story out, but there's Dino here and his wife. They go to a little restaurant down a back street, little place, El Perita. They're eating their food. At the end of the evening, the owner of the restaurant comes over to have a quick chat with them. He notices that on Dino's jacket, one of the waiters or waitresses or somebody's just spilt a little bit of juice or something on there. And Dino says, "Oh, don't worry about it, no problem at all. I'll get it fixed." And the owner said, "I insist. I'd like to take your jacket from you and have it dry clean, please." So anyway, he lets him have the jacket. A day later, he gets his jacket back. It's all dry clean. And Dino says in the book, I forget what the expense of the dry cleaning was, but Dino's got a very, very successful company he owns. Since then, he's had Christmas parties there. He's taken clients to that restaurant. He reckons he spent tens of thousands of pounds because of that little TNT action that owner took there. You've got one here, Boldo. It's one of my favorite ones. People in the workplace will sort of, they'll thank someone by, I don't know, give them a bottle of wine, whatever it is. And here's one. "I worked for a wonderful boss, Dave Fletcher. Prior to Dave becoming my manager, I had, despite being a non-drinker, become used to receiving gifts of champagne or wine in recognition of performance. Then one day I received a gift I will never forget. I was at my son's cricket club watching him play when, completely unexpectedly, Dave, knowing of my passion for the game, turned up and presented me with a pair of cricket cufflinks as a thank you for all my hard work. As a person who's mad about all things cricket, this TNT gesture meant the world to me. Prash Thakur." These are things, that make people feel great about themselves. Here's a customer experience one quickly. Let me find that where's a customer experience one for you?
While you find that, I'll tell you my TNT on the weekend. Well, the other day, we went out for a fancy dinner with some great friends. We've got 5 kids between us, and we haven't had a night out with friends without kids for 8 years. Okay, obviously we go out. So went to a fancy restaurant. We sat next to the world number 2 tennis player in the world. As you know his name, he lost last night to Rafa Nadal in the Australian Open, and the waiter, how he managed other people to take away from the sports star and things like that. We're sitting right next to him, but just the way he conducts himself. We were there for 4 hours. We had an amazing meal, and then he had a 20-minute private conversation with us after we had our meal, and he didn't have to do this, and it was just how he held himself, and there was just a tiny noticeable difference. Now, the owner of the restaurant or the manager of the restaurant have no idea who this waiter, what he actually did, but these are the things that make restaurants or organizations stand out and above. And now using word of mouth, I would tell people if they want to go to a nice fancy restaurant, this is the restaurant you should go to because their service is next level. So that was my tiny noticeable difference just the other day.
Yeah, all the little tiny noticeable things that people do. They're tiny, they're explosive, but they create colossal pictures in people's minds. A certain chain of restaurants here in the UK has just spent a lot of money and a lot of time researching what is the one thing out of everything else they do that makes customers want to come back. Do you know what it was? It's a fond farewell. It's a member of the staff in that restaurant. When you're going out the door with your partner or whatever, they might be behind the bar cleaning glasses, coming from round the bar and just saying, "Hey guys, thank you so much. I hope you've had a great night. We'll see you again." That's the research into it. That's what, what TNTs do. They're the difference between service and experience. Service for me is something, robotic. It's transactional. It's just doing the basic stuff. I can go to a self-service checkout in a supermarket and have service. But where it becomes experience is that little emotional thing, that little extra thing. The second time you go back to the restaurant and the waiter greets you at the door and says, hey, Adrian, Louise, good to see you again. Wow. It's for me, it's all about how we make people feel, Michael. Great people, great businesses, great organizations, they make people feel great. And then if you can make people feel a little bit special, life out there for, most motivational speakers will tell you life's brilliant. It's not at the moment. Life for a lot of people is really difficult. And if we can just make people feel a little bit special, give that little lift, put a smile on their face, just, remembering someone's first name the second time you meet them or whatever. I mean, here's an example. This is a really short one. Favorite room, it's called. This is a great little TNT. Jury's Inn Hotel, Derby, 30th of October, 2019. I asked the receptionist at check-in if I can have the same room as last time. Her reply blew me away. Certainly, sir. I've already reserved room 721 for you because I knew you liked it so much last time. Boom! TNTs, all the things that people don't need to do, but when they do them, they have a seismic impact. Seriously, I get so passionate about it. If you want to experience TNTs at their absolute best, the best experience I've ever had, Glen Eagles Hotel in Scotland, wow, it's just stunning, the experience they give you there, and all the little things they do that just blow people away the whole time. But here's the thing, they cost nothing. So why can't other businesses do them too? Why can't everybody do them? And what's really great about TNTs, a couple of things that are really great is, you might not be able to sort of make a seismic change to the world, but you can all do TNTs. You can all do little things that make people feel good about themselves. And the really exciting thing for me is, and I'm droning on a bit now, but they are contagious. When we do a TNT for someone, it releases dopamine in our brain as well as St. Petersburg drive-through, Starbucks drive-through, 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. A lady in a car decides to buy the person behind her a cup of coffee. This pay it forward cycle, Michael, went on for 11 hours. 11 hours! 378 people had a free drink because it makes us feel good when we do it. They're contagious. And I think it's about being sensitive to and sensitive to and acting upon things that to us may seem insignificant and yet mean so much to somebody else. Never ever overlook the TNTs. I was always used to say to my teams, they're the big things to somebody else out there. All the little things we do. And anybody who's in management here, all the little tiny things you do for members of your team, that just give them that lift. If you want to grow your business, start by making your people feel taller.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many great stories in the book. I read one just before where it was about the lady that worked at Safeway, and she would wipe the shopping trolley seats when it rained, so that if you had a child sitting in, it wouldn't get a wet bottom, and made the whole shopping experience a far happier one for parents pushing the trolley. Just little things like that. But I think the book can be summed up with one word, and that's called care. And we're at that age or that stage in life.
I'm glad you said that. I was worried then.
No, care. So it's there's a secret spiritual principle called the creation of care. And what that means is most people don't understand that your tiny little cares grow into something massive. And the opposite's true too. So when you neglect, when you don't care, things, dissipate and, go the other way. So the book is all about small ways that we can care and how we can do those small actions that grow into big things. Would I be correct in summarizing the book as care?
Yeah. There's a workshop. I do this workshop and I ask people in the workshop, what is it? Because this is a workplace workshop, but it applies way outside the workplace. I ask people, what is it you want more than anything else from people around you in your team? And, we start off with Post-it notes around the board. We've got recognition, validation, support. You have all these words. The people in the room, that they percolate I don't know if it's right, they percolate all these words into 3 words at the end of the session. And it's always the same 3 words. And the first word is the word time. Somehow we have to make time for each other, even if it's, especially these days in this sort of, artificial intelligence world, where it's all robotic and, and faceless sort of service. We have to make time for each other, and you probably noticed, that all the great sports people, they all have that little bit of extra time. The second word is the word care. We have to show we care. And I think one of the dangers is a lot of people really do care about people around them. But unless they can show it, demonstrate it externally with little TNT, tiny little actions, people may begin to think that. I don't mind working for anybody. I don't mind doing long hours, dealing with challenging problems, dealing with difficult people, commuting into work. As long as I think people in my team care. They care about themselves, they care about the rest of the team, our services, our products, whatever. And yeah, if I'm honest, they care about me. And the third word is the most interesting word that people come up with. It tends to be the word human. No matter how successful you ever become in your life, please don't ever try to come across as being infallible. It's the biggest disconnect there is. It's the old joke, Michael. Why do they put rubbers on pencils and bumpers on cars? Because we all make mistakes. So being human, and TNTs, that's what they demonstrate. They show you've taken that little extra step for somebody. You've taken time. They show you care. And they make the experience human. They show that you're human. That little thing, it's like, you've noticed that a member of your team cycles into the office each day, and it's starting to get a bit cold. And instead of giving them as a thank you for when they've performed whatever they've done, instead of a thank you being a typical gift of a few bottles of wine, the rest of the team gather around that person's desk at the end of one evening and say, look, we've noticed it's getting a bit chilly. We've got you some cycling gloves from the rest of the team. Now that person will just be blown away. So what we're doing is we're bringing team, I think, and making it more of a family. We're making it a sort of, something closer knit than a team.
Yeah, wonderful. It's great. I've got a couple of last questions before we sort of wrap up, and wanted to ask you about being alcohol-free in energy. I'm actually going through a year of no alcohol myself.
You are?
Yeah.
Hey, good on you.
Yeah. Do you want to expand on that? I was listening to a podcast of yours recently, and you were talking about getting off the alcohol and understanding that your energy was going through the roof. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did 100 days. I didn't last year. I did 100 days. The year before I did, I did 40 days. I did 100 last year, and I'm sort of tempted to go for an entire year. I'm a bit of a lightweight when it comes to drinking. The thing is, I do enjoy a couple of beers. But I wasn't sure if was I imagining it, but I did, after about the first 5 weeks, start to sort of feel more energetic. What was great was going to bed at night knowing that you're not going to wake up with any sort of hangover. And I've got so much I've got to pack into my life and do. I need all the energy I can get, Michael. I need as much energy. And I thought if I cut all alcohol out completely, and at the moment it's getting so easy because there's so many great alcohol-free beers out there, and there's alcohol-free gin, there's alcohol-free wine. I'm not trying the wines, but the beer, some of the beers I've had have been absolutely brilliant. And I think when you get to the bar and you have your first cold beer, that the first few, I think in my head, you spend the sort of rest of the evening trying to replicate that you have more and more drinks because you're trying to get that great feeling you had the first few sips.
Yeah.
And some of the alcohol-free beers now, a nice cold one, it sort of almost does it. So I'm thinking, Are you still alcohol free?
Yeah. So I just started July 4th. So just a short story. Yeah, I've been drinking for 22 years. And when I say drinking, I mean I hadn't gone through a period of 100 days non-drinking. I'm not a big drinker. I might, as I said, I enjoy 1 or 2 beers, but I never took a break. And I've got 2 young kids, and obviously I wake up 4 or 5 in the morning, and I don't get enough sleep, and it was affecting my sleep and also affecting my energy. And I thought, you know what, that's it. I'm going to go 1 year without alcohol. So I'm researching everything about getting off alcohol, and that's one thing that came up on a podcast of yours.
Just out of interest, how are you feeling?
Amazing. Yeah, I feel great. Yeah, I always feel great anyway, but I feel better. Yeah. I feel better than great.
And
so that's good.
How are you coping when you go out with a bunch of friends and?
Well, yeah, the other day when I went out and we sat near that tennis player, and I just I had a mocktail, I had a ginger something, and I had a V. I don't drink energy drinks, and I had a V, and I had a coffee. I love coffee. I'm a coffee addict, and I drink a lot of tea, and I drink a lot of water. So yeah, there's a lot of options there for people who are getting off alcohol with non-alcoholic beers and drinks. It's amazing that when you notice things. New things, you notice them everywhere, and that's that's just life. But I've got a couple of questions I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned I am just. What is I am just? You talk about that in some of your speeches.
The I am just. When now and again when I get invited to go and visit organisations, and I know when I get in my car and I set off to go and visit them, amongst all the lovely people I'm going to meet that day, I'm almost guaranteed to come across a character. And when I meet them, Michael, I feel like grabbing hold of them and shaking them. They're people I call the I'm just. Because whenever I ask them what they do as part of a team, they always start their self-description with I'm just. I'm just. And I want to say to them, like, you're not I'm just. We all make a difference. Nobody's an I'm just. Nobody's a nobody out there. And it's just one of the little things that just sort of winds me up, amongst other things. People using these imaginary air commas all the time. Oh, we had such a cool time. It was happening, So, but the I'm just thing, it's just, to me, it just it opens, it gives me opens a window into people, how they sort of. I think there's a lot of people doing jobs these days, as just in their head, they're doing it as a stopgap. At the moment, I'm working in the local supermarket where, until I get, it's just a stop. I don't want any I'm just people in my team. And I don't want what I call any two-dimensional people. I don't want, that's Tina in customer services, or that's Steve in marketing. That's 2D, that's just a name and a job description. I want people to better bring their personality, what I call pocket powers, which is a pocket power really quick is I've noticed that when someone has a problem outside of work or whatever it is, a personal problem, that there's a guy in admin called John. People come and talk to John, or they go and talk to Christine in finance. Maybe their front pocket power is empathy. There's another person who makes us laugh. Maybe they're the fun bus in the team. We got someone else who's a calming influence when the chips hit the fan. Maybe their front pocket power's calm. So I want people in my team to be able to bring far more than just what their name is and what they're paid to do. So that's important. But the I'm just thing, you now I've said that, you'll hear that. You said you will pick up on that all the time now. The number of people. You wait till you're chatting to people. Next time you're out and about, what do you do? Oh, I'm just a waitress. Oh, I'm just a van driver. I'm just a delivery. You hear it all the time. It will drive you nuts.
Yeah. And to recap that, I think people know they're not performing at their dream job, or they're not performing at their 100% potential. So they say the I am just to be a little bit humble, but also they know that they're not in the right career or the right job. Now, one last question to sort of wrap up. Now, if you were to host, we spoke about Napoleon Hill before, and he sort of talked about masterminds, but if you were to host a mastermind with 3 to 4 or 5 authors from the past, dead or alive, who would they be? Who would be in your mastermind? Who would you invite?
Oh, gosh, what a tough one. I'm trying to think. Where's my...
Top of your head.
Oh, crikey. What's his name?
Tell me, I'll tell you it. What books, or what books inspired you over the years when you were on your coming up?
Well, because I've started reflecting on life a bit, I'm just trying to see if I've got it handy. I read a great book recently called 10 to Zen.
10 to Zen?
10 to Zen.
I'll get it.
Kicking myself for not remembering the name of the person who wrote that book.
Owen O'Kane.
Sorry?
Owen O'Kane.
What was it?
Yeah, Owen O'Kane.
Are you sure?
10 to Zen, 10 minutes a day to a calmer, happier you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. Anyway, so we'll put Owen on the list. Who else?
Oh, I've got this guy here. Love this guy, Dr. Steve Peters, The Chimp Paradox.
Yep.
Love that little angry chimp inside you. I found 10 to Zen. I've got it. Here we go. Yeah, you're spot on. Look, that didn't ring a bell. It's bizarre. Okay, I got it there.
Perfect.
And another book. I'm trying to think. Here you go. Love this one. Dalai Lama, The Art of Happiness.
Awesome.
That really resonated. I started because my whole life up to up to sort of 10 years ago, it was all about performing, chasing the money and all the rest of it, the materialistic stuff. Bigger house, faster car, and all that sort of stuff. And it all started feeling just slightly vacuous. And started sort of thinking, reevaluating myself. And sounding a bit heavy there, but and I discovered that book, and that really did sort of change my outlook on life. Yeah,
amazing. What's in store for you? What are you working on this year, or what are your sort of projects that you're coming up about that you're super excited about?
Right, I'm working on a polar bear pirate book. I'm doing a whole series of blogs. Have a look. I call them bullet blogs. They're real sort of simple, short blogs, and on my website. I'm doing those. I'm preparing. I'm hoping that live events are going to become a bit more. They're going to be coming back.
Stable.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit more regular. Love doing the speaking more than anything else. I'm also writing another book, which I don't want to say much about. I'm really excited about it, and I'm sort of keeping a bit of a sort of secret. I sound a bit of sorry. So I'm coming. But no, I want to keep that under wraps. But the other one I'm hoping to do, and everybody says they're going to do one, and I'll be honest with you, I don't care really if it gets published. So I've got this idea of a kid's book, a children's book. And it's just really what I'd love is if my grandkids and all that read it, but no one else read it really. So I'm just going to write it for the fun of it, because every time I mention it, people say, "Oh, everybody wants to write a kids book, and it's a saturated market." I don't care. I'm just going to write it for the hell of it, just for the fun of it. If it gets published, great. If not, well, my grandkids will enjoy it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And where can people find you online, or where can people buy your books? What's the best place?
Oh, please. AdrianWebster.com is my website. I'm on, I can show you. I'm on Instagram, Polar Bear Pirates with an S on the end. Twitter, I'm Polar Bear Pirate. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram account is rubbish. I honestly, if you follow me, I promise you, I will instantly follow you back. I am not fussy. I will follow anybody. Please follow me. AdrianWebster.com is my website, and there's all the books up there. So.
Perfect. Well, Adrian, thank you for being a great guest on the Best Book Bits podcast. And to my audience, go out there, purchase these books, read them, implement them, and share them around as well. And also follow Adrian on social, because he needs some love. Adrian, thanks.
I keep looking up there. It's because I'm looking at my Brio camera, which is not working. I realise the camera's here. Sorry, guys. I'm like,
no, it's okay. No, perfect. That's fine. All right, Adrian. Thanks for being a great guest, and we'll speak to you soon. And if you're ever down under, I'll give you a bit of a tour too. Okay,
Michael, I thank you so much. Did Nadal speak to you, by the way?
No, it was the other guy. It was the Russian guy.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
I say number 2 because the Novaks, but he's it's a long story, as everyone knows. He got kicked out of the country, but we'll chat offline. We'll leave our guest and audience with this. So, Adrian, thanks for being a guest, and we'll speak soon.
Oh, what a pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, no worries at all. Thanks so much.